And there we go. All right, well, it's about 7 minutes after, and so I think we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, for what I'm calling a cavalcade of poetry. My name is David Curry. I will be your host and your host and your host all night. So, thank you. So I think we need to begin by saying that we are gathered on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. And it's hard to move through the world without hearing people being afraid about what's coming next. And yesterday was a truly amazing day, and the commitment to reconciliation is more visible than ever before. But as a settler, one of the things that I think about is when I'm being visible, I'm also being scared. I'm scared that the next leaders are not going to respect reconciliation. I'm scared that the programs are not working. But before we mobilize for policy or activism or disruption, we need to learn from Indigenous people and their experiences, and we need to listen and read. And that's why Perfect Books is here, an amazing provider of Indigenous books and Indigenous literatures. And this is a weird transition, but we need to put together our hands for Perfect Books, who is celebrating their 30th anniversary today, and with Jim. So that's good. Now let's move on. For over a decade, well over a decade, Writers Festival and Bywords have been partners in this very special event. For over 20 years since its founding, Amanda Earle has been the managing editor of Bywords, a monthly online poetry journal and a calendar of poetry, spoken word, storytelling, and nonfiction events. And over the last several months, I've watched the incredible amount of work that goes into putting on the John Newlove Awards, and the incredible amount of resolve and strength that Amanda manifests just to make sure that this event happens and goes perfectly. So without further ado, please welcome Amanda Earle.
Thanks, David, and I should say that it's actually this is our 21st year, so working with the Writers Festival. Yes, I'm going to change my glasses. Well over a decade, yeah. Poet math, all right. Okay. Welcome to the 21st annual Bywords John Newlove Poetry Award. Thanks to the Ottawa International Writers Festival for all that they do. I love the festival. Wait until, if you haven't had a chance to look at the program yet for the forthcoming Fall Festival, you should take a look because you're going to want to be there every day and every night. Thanks for hosting us again, and thanks to the audience members who are here, and also for those of you who are watching at home. You can turn off the video and just you can just mute yourself. Well, you don't need to worry about muting yourself, but you can just munch on your potato chips and lie on the couch and enjoy the show. Thank you to the City of Ottawa for continuing to fund Bywords. That support is vital, and a big thank you to the Bywords Selection Committee for voting all year on the poems. Tonight's award celebrates the poetry of John Newlove, a renowned Canadian poet who lived in Ottawa for the last 20 years of his life and died in December 2003. As a part of the evening, we'll be from some of his works. I always read this poem. It's called Then If I Cease Desiring. It came out in his first book, Moving and Alone, from Contact Press in 1965. Then if I cease desiring. Then if I cease desiring, you may sing a song of how young I was. You may praise famous moments, I'll have them, of the churches I broke into for wine. Not praise the highways I traveled drunkenly in winter, the cars I stole. You may allow me moments, not monuments, I being content. It is little, but it is little enough. Okay. As always, we begin with music, and Ottawa is fortunate to have not only a thriving literary community, but also a thriving community of songwriters, singers, and musicians. Musicians who have performed at the John Newlove Poetry Award ceremony so far have included Mélissa Laveau, Lee Hayes, Andrea Sims-Karp, John Carroll, Marie-Josée Houle, Call Me Katie, James Misson, Jesse Rose, Neil Gerster, Jill Zmud, The Companionship Registry, Subraj Singh, Jack Pine, Kimberly Sundstrom, John Ian, and Audrey Soparno. This year's performer is Sarah Dolan, who also goes by Princess Unlucky. She makes music to cope with being an especially emotional human being. Her music is often unpredictable and passionately charged. At age 11, Sarah had a friend who played the violin. She adored this friend and wanted to play something that would complement her. She came across a small wooden harp called a harpsichord, which she called Merlin. From there, they would play songs together where Sarah would attend her friend's violin lessons. But then Sarah had a fight with this friend right before she moved out of the country, and their friendship was over. Sarah didn't know how to handle that loss, but she picked up Merlin and started plucking out her emotions. Over the years, Sarah and Merlin, now the Electric Merlin II, would make songs whenever she felt alone or had something she couldn't express. She began classically training under the harpist Mary Muckle and completed her Royal Conservatory examinations for lever harp. In 2021, she won a province-wide ORMTA student composition contest for her sextet, When Comes the Night, and earned second place in the country. Today, she enjoys being part of the music community, playing open mics regularly at Art House Cafe, where I met Sarah, actually, and live on Elgin. She is happy to be in Ottawa, which, despite having a small urban core, is rich with wonderful, talented artists. Sarah has a background in physics, which forms a large part of how she thinks. She has a second acoustic harp named Cecilia. Please welcome Princess Unlucky.
Hello, everyone. Gonna play a couple little tunes for you now. Something sunken and heavy. I thought the pressure would make us diamonds, but all that left us was dust. I left you cold in the dark. I mined out the emeralds. I ripped out the lights, driven by a shapeless kind of pain. Why'd I think you'd understand? But you're still here, a lingering dream who lives on the rails in the summer rain. You're still here in the flashing lights and angry melodies. Could call days and nights long past, a dance of phantom memories and dreams a mess. And amidst the woods is a conductor. She's waving a rhythm for a drummer, a rhythm that is set to my own heart's beating. And suddenly I know what I'm seeing. I've entered my own mind's being. I move on along a winding path. Roses and weird poses line the track. They spiral down around a void of black. Inside my own eyes are staring back. But I don't know if I told you how cold it grows in the nighttime. I first got your sign while staring from the staircase. In the dim yellow lights, you were drifting at the edge of space. You're playing songs, music only you can hear. Memories flooding on. I reach out towards your ear, and my wrist is caught by a panicked grip. Your face full of pain. Oh, that night would remain. The night I first idolized your cold glass eyes. The night I first idolized your cold glass eyes. In the city we would reunite under frozen black skies. The night I first idolized your cold glass eyes. On scorching summer nights, I'm clenched in your embrace. Sunken scars mark your back that my hands love to trace. My script is writ by your temperament. They say you're robotic, and I'm neurotic, and I'm in bewilderment at your belittlement. Call out my avarice without the half of it, 'cause you might know pain, but not a pain flows in these veins. And you might know love, though you've never had enough. And you might know shame, but not how shame leaves skin with stains. The night I first idolized your golden glass eyes. The night I first idolized your golden glass eyes. And the city we would reunite under frozen black skies. The night I first idolized your golden glass eyes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Princess Unlucky, who will return later on in the evening to at the end of the first event of 3 events. This is such a lovely night. I'm having such fun already. I almost forget I have to come back up and actually do my hosting duties. This part. The winner of the John Newlove Poetry Award has the opportunity to have a chapbook published with Bywords. So in January of each year, the winner provides Bywords with a draft manuscript, and somehow magically by October, the manuscript becomes a chapbook, which has been launched at the festival as part of the John Newlove Poetry Award reading. Thank you to this year's editors, Jessie Aubin, who also goes by Kuna Zero, Chris Johnson, Andrew LaFleche, Jade Reardon, Jagjit Sharma, and Rob Thomas. Tonight, Nadi Samuel, last year's award recipient, will be launching his chapbook, Biblical Invasion BC. Nadi Samuel holds a BA in English and Literature from the University of Benin. He's the author of Nature Knows a Little About Slave Trade, selected by Tate N. Oquendo. His works have been previously published, forthcoming in Suburban Review, Seventh Wave Magazine, Native Skin Lit Magazine, North Dakota Quarterly, Quarterly West, Commonwealth Writers, Jaggery, Fog Lifter, The Capilano Review, Low, Arc Poetry Magazine, Poetry Ireland, New Orleans Review, Westerly, Prism Magazine, Australian Poetry Journal, The Ex-Puritan, The Spectacle Magazine. I could go on, basically. A 3-time Best of the Net and 7 times Pushcart nominee. He won the Miracle Monocle Award for Ambitious Student Writers, the International Human Rights Art Festival Award, Penrose Poetry Prize, awarded for excellence in poetry, the Angela C. Mankiewicz Poetry Contest, River Heron's Editors Prize, Bermuda Triangle Poetry Prize. There are many, many more here, including the John Newlove Poetry Award as well last year. So he also, I should say that he tweets at Samuel Samba 10. So if you wanna send Sam a message, you can do so through Twitter or whatever that thing is called now. We have copies of his chapbook here tonight and also on the Bywords store. For the first time, we are also making chapbooks available as PDFs, which you can also purchase in the bywords.ca store. Here's the beautiful chapbook that we had printed at Elephant Print, a really great printer in town. You should really take advantage of. Since Sam is currently at the University of Virginia doing an MFA, he is not with us tonight, but has made a recording of 2 of his poems, plus a John Newlove poem. So please welcome via sort of audio and our video, Nadi Samuel.
Hi everyone, good evening, and thank you so much for honoring this wonderful event. My name is Samuel Nadi, and I'll be reading to you tonight 2 of my poems titled Endless Gethsemane and Hi everyone, good evening, and thank you so much for honoring this wonderful event. My name is Samuel Nadi, and I'll be reading to you tonight 2 of my poems titled Endless Gethsemane and A Golden Flame, or The Beheading of Ram, as well as one other of John Newlove's poem titled Driving. Endless Gethsemane. Months plough the undergrowth of my mindscape, and this is not a metaphor for harvest. Of all my perennial suffering, religion grieves the loudest. The hymn, seared to a tree trunk, skin tony as raw gold, bruised from fiber. Say we worship our mineral resources far more than we worship our Creator. I know we have truth that sheds its prefix on the altar of language, the kind you encounter in the heart of a nunnery, known for all of its height and Catholic existence. Think incense, think white robe, think Enoch spewing Hebrew to raise a prayer grant in elevated tongue, a miracle that outlives creation. Think of this metaphor as a shotgun approach towards the marvel that is this poem. This detached brick, made of gypsum, blast of clay, sewn par fronts, a fresh puddle scrubbed brightly on cleansed surface, twin boulder interlocked once a shadow bent in collapsed grace. These rare occasions the Christians fashion to nosedive into worship. Say the ground swallows supplication in thunder blows of voice prints raining on the stomach of wire and terracotta, a concrete excuse for somnambulation as we intercede in clear diphthongs sculpted from ancient Greek. I assume joy comes through godless diction, my tasteless tongue ruffling the wind, each ululation laced with retort. I assume saint takes a grudge to their dying bed, each coma without grief, empty as a threat. All of this to say, hope is transient. I bloodlet a nasty chorus, and the ricochet throws me for the time my breath allows. A golden flame, or the beheading of Ram. I demand the audacity of lilies, how in their flowering they occupy the undergrowth of my mindscape with a stench near native to fill an empty body, skin torn by surprise or vex, the blade of sunlight trimming us clean, how a corpse would bow to tanning. A bond teaches me, whatever retaliates in heart, whatever cannot be held, stands the test of time, the way heat skirts through tortured coal. And for want of result, I stay back, feasting what wouldn't yield a golden flame, observing as air tightens around us and shrinks back, since the past is a tangible thing, to snatch and grope with both hands, till it bleeds a flicker. Fire walks on cotton wool and does not tarnish the animal white. The god of Meshach has no hand in this. It is mere science how we come to terms with knowing nitrocellulose burns so fast, the flame lacks the time to damage skin. A believer on hearing this invokes the fairest of furnace from a blacksmith, yet eyes broke no sweat to unmake it. I choose to happen as the explanation behind this, choose to be shatterproof, all that stone cold whiteness melting the perimeter of light, a solvent designed for kill. Say the fire cross carpets to an inferno. I am as much fresh log as I am rain to make or mar this orange bright menace. A hotness hits my rib, and I solidify. Light pours on my flesh to leave me terror-struck. Even betting ends with the stiffness of a loin before the fetus comes out blood-bright. Yeah, my laps give way and return in a garden of red. Gives way and the cramp stiffens me for the time sun roams the earth at cut-through speed, like the minute that perceives a machete before the beheading of a ram. You could strain your eyelid and still not know what blow fell it. So this last poem is titled Driving, from John Newlove's last collection of poems titled A Long Argument. You never say anything in your letters. You say I drove all night, long before the snow, in someone else's car, and the heater wouldn't work, and I nearly froze. But I know that I live in this country too. I know how beautiful it is at night, with the white snow banked in the moonlight. Around black trees and tangled bushes, how lonely and lovely that driving is. How deadly you become the country. You are by yourself in that channel of snow and pines and pines. Whether the pines and snow flows backward smoothly, whether you drive or you stop or you walk or you sit, this land waits for you. It watches how beautifully desolate our country is out of the snug cities, and how it fits a human. You say you drove. It doesn't matter to me. All I can see is the silent cold car gliding, walled in. Your face smooth, your mind empty. Cold foot on the pedal, cold hands on the wheel.
To Natty Samuel, and yeah, it was really a pleasure to work with Natty from last January until recently, when we put the finishing touches on his chapbook. He's really quite an amazing poet. So now I change my glasses again. If you're doing a drinking game, you can take a shot every time I change my glasses. You'll get drunk very quickly. Okay. Oh, and then I lose my glasses. Oh well. Oh well, there goes a few $100. Well, that's fine. Okay. Poems considered for this year's John Newlove Poetry Award were published between September 2023 and August 2024 and chosen by our selection committee. Our judge for this year's award was Toronto poet Jim Johnstone. Our honorable mention, so this year we have one honorable mention. They're the author of the full-length poetry collection Derelict Bicycles, the chapbooks Nomics, Lines That Open, The Mystery of Ornament, and Celebration Machine, and the monograph With the Witnesses. She is a faculty member at Kwantlen Polytechnic University. For her poem Run, published in August 2024, Dale Tracy receives an honorable mention in the John Newlove Poetry Award. I'd like to say please welcome Dale Tracy, but Dale is in BC and has asked me to read her poem. So you're hearing from me again, but soon we'll actually hear from a person other than me, I promise. Okay, Run. The wheel runs its spindle freely. The pulley demands the rope slide, and fear runs away with us. While we ought runs through the news like stockings, my hands are in my hair, wet like an oil painting, and I always wanted grease like the Tin Man, a lubricating pour to join the purpose. A drill runs out of true when its hole swerves. As literally as possible, history runs in our blood. Run a rag over the metal under the dripping tap. A play has a run. Everything else keeps happening. Dale has chosen White Lives by John Newlove from Lives, McClelland and Stewart, 1972. The winter shines, I think, but it's summer now and I'm not home. The sky is the color of a pike's belly. The air stinks. It is pretending to be about rain. The atmosphere is heavy, is glue, glum glue. I seem to remember those winters. The hard surface snow would have stretched tightly over the low hills, vast pearls glowing in the night of 5 o'clock, white lies. Bright cars cautious on the roads, the gray skeleton trees, occasional greens, rarely a rabbit's convulsive flash, blackbirds sitting on telephone wires, waiting, waiting. I haven't been home for years. Thank you, Dale. Okay. The John Newlove Poetry Award is now in its 21st year. The judges have been Gary Hyland, Stuart Ross, Aaron Murray, George Elliott Clark, George Bowering, Stephanie Bolster, Jason Camlott, A. Rawlings, Gary Barwin, Alice Burdick, Campbell Martin, Matthew Rader, Kimmy Beach, Gillian C., Gregory Betts, Tanis McDonald, Dina Del Bucchia, Ellie Kralji Gardner, Jacqueline Valencia, Ariel Garden, and Jim Johnstone. I loved reading these names. It's like a poem, isn't it? It's beautiful. The winners have been Norma Elliott, Melissa Upfold, Roland Prevost, Sean Moreland, Rob Friday, Marcus McCann, Winter Feddick, Rob McLennan, Jenna Jarvis, Rob Thomas, Matthew Walsh, Ronald Seater, Andrew LaFleche, Doris Fisher, Thomas W. Wisniewski, David Grew, Megan Mistel, Richard Eve Satowski, Rachel Small, and Natty Samuel. And now for the 2024 award. If we do this for 50 years, I'm going to be here all night doing this. The recipient of this year's award is a young femme writer living and working on the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe in Ottawa, Ontario. They are one of the co-editors for the Sprawl Mag. They like learning theory and writing speculative poetry. Their recent chapbooks include Waterkin and Enter the Hyperreal. Their novelette in verse, Seed Beetle, is forthcoming with Stelliform Press. This year's judge, Jim Johnstone, wrote the following about the winning poem. In this year's John Newlove Award-winning poem, word building becomes world building, a powerful meditation deftly stitched together with a seamless serotonin-inducing hand. For their poem, Ugly Red Acento, published in February 2024, Mihaela Smith is the recipient of the 2024 John Newlove Poetry Award. Yay! Please welcome Mihaela.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to Amanda for organizing such an amazing night, to Princess Unlucky for that just incredible jaw-dropping performance, and to Natty Samuel, of course, very exciting to hear those poems, and to Dale Tracy, too. I feel very honored to be in this company. So I am going to be starting off with the poem that has won the Newlove Award this year. It is actually part of my new chapbook with Above Ground Press that was recently published by Rob McLennan. So if you're interested in reading it again, I have some copies and you can come see me after. So while I was writing this poem, I was thinking a lot about Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson, and that's one of the main inspirations for a lot of the imagery in this poem. Ugly Red Acento. Now we find each other turned by urban obstacles. With disbelief, I touch the cold marble. Time for the tram, time for the conductress, time for the policeman. When I banged my head on the door, I screamed, instead of painting volcanoes. I will become any object, with one hand in the searing fire. I've got no email easy pass to speed me safe to Queens. Out of the winds and the waves riot. I didn't know I loved the sea, at least insofar as drainage is concerned. It happens that I am tired of being a man. In the morning, clock state radios, air music. After kilowatts of straw, unending adagios. Thank you. I'm going to read a couple other poems. These are more in the vein of the speculative poetry that I write. And these are part of my other chapbook that I had come out this year called Waterkin. I also have some copies of that, and these will be appearing as part of the larger novelette in verse that Amanda mentioned. So, the first poem I'm reading is called The Creep. It happened slowly, the number of bees vanishing, cornfields as far as you can see, lying flat and unproductive, husks drying to dust, the lakes choking with plastic and heat, trout dying and eels vanishing, the deadlands growing and spreading. The trees are being deleaved by spongy moths, their branches gummed with white webbing, tarmac cleaving a black horizon, solar panels stealing sunlight from the ground. The femmes and the feminized are made to stay home and militantly plant milkweed and goldenrod. the worrying and the no sleep, and storing meat in deep freeze, drying fruits, hoping that the drones will supply enough at highest costs. It is the femmes who pose in webmag ads with red-lipped smiles. It is the femmes who usher in a new solution, who punch in daily at the utopic robotics manufacturing plants, who focus their hands on making mechanical megafaunal beetles, who they say will bring the fresh food back. I'm going to read one more poem from this collection. This one is very specifically about eels. There's a lot of eels in this collection for some reason. It's called Nebby's Field Notes. My sisters, the eels, are born twist-happy and clear as their water bodies. They emerge from the earth itself, the shallows of the primordial drip, a volcanic pond, carbonated, methylated, the color of obsidian. They are indifferent to the change from fresh water to salt. Their black skin turns silver when they have the time. The first Ouroboros was mistaken for a snake, but it was an eel, trapped in the cycle of rebirth. I swim mermaid among them, my ankles slow, betray my true home. The eels twist my hair into ropes, single strands detach and create new kin. They move into gray reflections, and I follow. They extract electricity from thunderstorms. Their bodies slip into the suggestion of question marks or apostrophes. Soon there won't be any more eels. Their lives stagnate in ring dams. Where do you come from, I ask? I can help preserve your species with science. We don't know where we come from. We are two dots joined by a circle. Our ancestors are our children. We come from the water. And to close off, I'm going to be reading a poem by John Newlove that I chose, which, when I read it, was speaking about so many things that I've been writing about climate disaster and water creatures, and specifically about beetles. So I couldn't not read it, and I wish I had written it myself. It's called Dream. The luxurious trembling sea, winding atmosphere of thick death and life, egg-filled, swarming and empty, rides on unknown rock and infested slabs of slime epics deep in flesh that has no memories. No interest except to live, survive, shambling through cold currents, only occasionally breaking the shining, opaque lid of the wet universe, a touch of animal foam on the surface among the few floating twigs that drift away from the deserted earth. And the red and brown vine-tangled land is empty, except for armored insects, lugging their invaluable trophies back and forth. Dry matted grass, feet deep, whipped in the wind, rotten fallen trees, crisp shards of leaves, shifting deserts of sand, and bare plains strewn with rocks like ankle bones, stretching across the sterile continents, dust in the stark air, no movement except that of ants and beetles, and the great swaying wooden vegetables dead. The sea moves nervously. Through it, strange beasts search for food, unthinkingly constant in their paths. The earth rustles dryly, and in the bright sky, the stars continue to shine, and the great galaxial wheel rolls smoothly in its unhuman silence that contains all sounds. Thank you, everyone.
I don't need my reading glasses this time. I just like to welcome Princess Unlucky back to the stage. Thank you, Mihaela. That was wonderful.
Congratulations, Mahal. And also, thank you, Amanda, for hosting this. It's always a pleasure getting to present and for appreciating like every artist who plays. Like you're a gem to have around. So I'm gonna play for you my hardest piece. It's called "When Comes the Night." It was written I wrote it for 3 harps and 3 voices. I don't have 3 harps on me, but I do have a looper pedal. So this is an abridged version of it. By daylight hours I am entranced. All acts inclined to happenstance. But twilight sound sets thoughts to dance. Call of a loon under moonlit night. Dormant dreams left unseen come to light. you. Should I play one more? All right. This is actually a sequel to the first song I played for you. But the first one's about losing someone who's really important to you, and this song is about being hurt by someone but keeping them in your life. That night his sorrows trickled into streams of blue light. His head was burrowed, time was swirling, stuck in mid-flight, and from the stage a song rose. In the same way a breeze blows, and softly then it enclosed and breathed a parallel pain. First soft, then a cry, and a downpour of rain. And somewhere in that venue was a pretty girl who knew the same silent, somber avenue, had seen bright colors dull in hue, and for her alone his love had grown, a precious jewel encased in stone, with rarity that's seldom known. Oh, why on earth should that ever make him feel alone? 'Cause life goes on, life goes on, life goes on, simply like a song, and it's not wrong to move on. Life goes on, life goes on, and by the fabric of reality, and whatever laws of entropy but are huge, no one eyes the song that painted the night, sweetly intertwined and entangled with this life. 'Cause the universe demands that he be understood, 'cause in him breathes something so pure and so good, and what clings to his soul's not a curse but a blessing, the embrace of his friends and holy love's caressing. 'Cause life goes on, life goes on, life goes on, simply like a song, and it's not wrong to move on. You're still here, you're still here, and so am I. But we can both be in the light and see life from the sunny side. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you, Princess Unlucky. Of course, you've moved me to tears, so thanks for that. No, that was great. Oh, I didn't bring my reading glasses up. Oh, well, we'll see what happens. Thanks to all the participants. Thanks to Arjun for handling the video and the live stream. Thanks to Troy, our marvelous technician, and to Nick from Club Saw as well for getting things all smoothly running. Thanks to our host, David Curry, to Sean and Kira, and to our selection committee, and to all of you for attending. Don't forget to send your poems to bywords.ca. This year's judge is Toronto poet Concetta Principe. If you'd like a copy of Natty Samuel's chapbook, please ask me or visit the bywords.ca store. We will also have chapbooks available at the forthcoming Ottawa Small Press Book Fair on November 16th. And consult the bywords.ca events calendar for more information. Don't forget to stop by Perfect Books at the back too, or come see us for the chapbooks. In a few minutes, the City of Ottawa Poets Laureate, I can never pluralize those words, okay. Poets Laureate reading will begin, followed by my reading with Christine McNair to celebrate the launch of her book, Toxime. I'll put on my mischievous poet hat and take off my organized host hat. Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here.
And thank you, Amanda. Let's give a round of applause for Amanda again. And I think I speak for everyone when I say we look forward to decades and decades more of the John Newlove Awards. And now it is my chance to say bienvenue à tous et toutes. Je m'appelle David Curie. My name is David Curry. And right now, it is my pleasure, c'est mon honneur de présenter les poètes officiels, I am so sorry, officiels de la ville d'Ottawa. This is an interesting moment for me because I am both the vice president of VerseFest and I work as the manager of community engagement for the Writers' Festival. So they picked me. So I'm finding it impossible not to thank the city of Ottawa right now for their support of poetry in our city. Because without them, the Poet Laureate program would not exist. So put your hands together for the city of Ottawa. And then, equally impossible, we need to acknowledge the hard work of the entire board of VerseFest, except for me, because that would be tacky. But especially Rob McLennan and Shizad Lack. Shizad Lack, qui n'a pas pu être parmi nous ce soir, mais Gisad a passé des mois à naviguer une transition difficile, menant à une recherche qui a abouti à la sélection d'un poète qui, je crois, transformerait le paysage de la poésie francophone à Ottawa. So Gisad had spent months navigating a really difficult transition, leading to a search resulting in the selection of Véronique, who I truly believe is going to transform the city's French poetry landscape. We are just so honored for Véronique and for Gisad's work. And then Rob McLennan, who serves tirelessly as Verse Ottawa's artistic director and reluctant president. Rob spent a year working with the city of Ottawa to hold safe the Poet Laureate program. In a moment, you'll learn about the long tradition of this program, but for right now, it quite simply would not exist without Rob McLennan. I don't know what's happening with my French today. Il a vraiment fait du très bon travail. Rob McLennan. I'd like to carry that gratitude forward to present Blaine Marchand, who will be bringing us into the life and work of Catherine Ahern, Ottawa's first municipal poet laureate, and according to research, the first municipal poet laureate in Canada, beginning her term in 1982. Blaine Marchand is a poet on the unceded territories of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people, active in literary scenes for over 50 years. He is the author of 7 books of poetry and prose, as well as a prolific essayist and journalist. Blaine Marchand's poetry and prose has appeared in magazines across Canada, the United States, New Zealand, and Pakistan. Please welcome Blaine.
Oops. Should put my glasses on. Thank you, Dave. I'm going to talk about Catherine Ahern, who, as Dave said, was the first City of Ottawa Poet Laureate, and also the impetus behind the creation of this point. Catherine actually comes from well-established Ottawa families. She was born Catherine Ahern here in Ottawa in 1949. To a prominent family who amassed a huge collection of Canadian art. She attended Rockcliffe Public School, Elmwood Private School, both in Ottawa, as you know, as well as McGill University of Montreal between 1966 and 1970, where she obtained a Bachelor of Arts honors in French literature. She also spent a year studying at the University of Aix-en-Provence in France, and then subsequently earned her master's in arts from the University of Ottawa in French Canadian literature. And then finally her doctorate at the University of Ottawa with her final thesis on French surrealism. It was Catherine who approached then Mayor Marion Dewar with the idea of creating the Poet Laureate for the city. The mayor was enthusiastic about the idea and then suggested to Catherine that she become the first to hold the position. Being completely bilingual, she was the perfect choice at the time. And it was the first municipal poet laureate established in Canada, leading the way for other cities to follow. In 1976, she published 2 books of poetry, L'Âge de l'Aube and Daydream Daughter, which won the A.G.M. Smith Poetry Prize from Michigan State University. De l'Aube appeared to good reviews in Paris, while Daydream Daughter, published by McClellan Stewart, won the prestigious A.G.M. Smith Award, as I just indicated. Between 1980 and 1987, she published 4 books of poetry. She also wrote a novel, a young adult book, as well as film and television series. When she became Poet Laureate, I interviewed her for the Ottawa Citizen. I remember that she was elegant, thoughtful, charming, and witty. She moved away from Ottawa, and so I lost track of her. But it seems fitting to remember her on this occasion when the Poet Laureate position is being revived, thankfully, by Verse Ottawa. The poem I'm going to read is from her book, Concha and Rezanov, which interestingly was published by Anthos Press, which was run by the late Patrick White, who was, I believe, the 3rd Poet Laureate for Ottawa. And it explores the relationship in the 1800s between a 16-year-old Mexican girl and a Russian trader who came to what is now California. And the poem I'm going to read is called The Word of Us. And in the beginning was the Word, was the womb, and the womb grew, and the womb became love. And in the beginning was the manhood, and the manhood grew, and the manhood became love. And in the beginning was the Word, and the Word grew, and the Word became us. The womb and the manhood grew into one. The womb and the Word grew into love. And the womb said, love creates poetry. Absolute love creates eternity. And the Word said, poetry recreates love. Absolute poetry recreates eternally. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Blaine. C'est maintenant avec une grande joie que je vous présente la poète officielle francophone d'Ottawa, Véronique Sylvain. J'ai lu Premier quart, sa collection primée par le prix Trillium en 2023. En quelques semaines, j'avais lu Poèmes de la Résistance, Projet Terre et autant de poèmes que j'ai trouvés sur l'Internet. A fair warning, if you read even a few pages of this Trillium award-winning book, Premier quart, you're going to want to read everything. It's incredible. Véronique Sylvain habite à Ottawa où elle occupait le poste de responsable de la promotion et des communications avec Édition David. Ses poèmes ont paru dans les revues À ciel ouvert, Ancrage, Femme de parole, Zinc et les recueils collectif, poème. Fuck off, boss. Fine, whatever. You know what? I'll switch. I wrote this thing, but. Her first collection, Premier quart, won her the Prix de Poésie Trillium, the Ottawa Book Award in 2020, the Prix Champagne, and the Prix Littéraire Émergence AAOF 2021. A proud Franco-Ontarian with a passion for words, music, nature, and travel, Véronique also offers writing workshops for those age 8 to 98. Her upcoming collection En Terrain Miné appears in September 2024, which was last month. And it's out. Amazing. Now I have something else to read. I'm just going to end with one thing. Bear with me. Franchement, depuis le premier jour où j'ai rejoint le conseil the board, c'est le moment que j'attendais. La poésie de Véronique porte le nord dans ses veines, souvent une forme de georgique, une chanson de travail. Sa poésie, it's just so good. Anyway, she writes these incredible Georgic poems, and they're just masterful, and I love them so much, and it is my great honor to welcome Véronique Sylvain.
Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Merci pour la présentation. Thank you for the presentation. I was not sure what was going to be the crowd tonight, so the poems I'm going to read are going to be in French and in English. Actually, well, they're mostly going to be in French, but like the English version have been translated by Howard Scott, who you might know. Thank you. Merci, Howard. Donc, les premiers textes que je vais lire sont tirés de mon recueil Premier quart. Premier quart a été publié en 2019 aux éditions Prise de parole. Et c'est un petit livre qui m'a permis de faire beaucoup de chemin depuis. Et ça va comme suit. Ils sortent de leur corps de travail, le corps rampant, comme des vers de terre fuyant les vibrations de la pluie contre leur tête. Ce soir, les poches pleines de pépites d'or, c'est au premier bar du coin qu'ils noieront leur dernier soleil. They come out from their work shift, bodies crawling like earthworms, fleeing the thrumming of rain on their heads. Tonight, pockets full of gold nuggets, at their first corner bar, they will drown their last sun. Au travail, mon grand frère est gambler. Il mit sa chemise sous la terre du nord de l'Ontario pour un salaire plus intéressant qu'une vie. À Ottawa, je reste cette crainte à l'autre bout du téléphone, à l'autre bout d'un crayon à mine. At work, my big brother's a gambler. He bets his shirt under the earth of Northern Ontario for wages more appealing than life. In Ottawa, I'm still that dread on the other end of the phone, on the other end of a leaden pencil. Sur l'autoroute direction nord, les volets des fenêtres des maisons de compagnie se referment, comme des paupières de mineurs trop fatigués. Dans ce monde à ciel ouvert, où les vêtements délabrés épousent les cordes à linge. Northbound on the highway, shuttered windows, company houses close like eyelids of two tired miners. In this open pit world, grungy clothes hug the wash lines. Les noms s'effacent, des traces de craie sur l'ardoise, les morts s'effleurent, des marques de doigts sur les cuisses des enfants ingrats. Names fade, chalk lines on slate, the dead skim finger marks on the thighs of ungrateful children. Au loin, dans le froid, un point bleu microscopique, au centre d'un immense tableau blanc. Une maison mobile emprisonnée. Impossible de roulotter son cœur ailleurs. Une maison solitaire entourée de conifères endormis. Impossible de les réveiller. Impossible de ne pas tomber sous le charme. Une porte glacée, une porte enneigée. Impossible de s'évader de cet univers de blanc. Far off in the cold, a microscopic blue dot. In the center of a vast white painting. A mobile home imprisoned. Impossible to throttle your heart elsewhere. A solitary house surrounded by sleeping conifers. Impossible to wake them up. Impossible not to fall under the spell. An icy door, a snowy door. Impossible to escape from this world of white. Un amas de métaux obscurs recouvre le côté droit de ma tête. J'en extrais mes idées, les rends malléables, les fais fondre avec le réel. A clump of dark metals covers the right side of my head. I extract my ideas from them, make them malleable, fuse them with reality. Alors que le printemps se racle la gorge, je recolle les mots, à la sueur de mes doigts. Je suis un maçon qui pose la pierre pour bâtir un abri. While spring clears its throat, I stick the words back together to the sweat of my fingers. I am a mason who lays stone to build a shelter. And those were poems from Premier quart. Donc, c'était des textes de Premier quart. It's interesting because we have like a Franco-Ontarian brain. I learned English, I was 3, so reading my poems in French and English, I feel like my two brains are like, sometimes in a fight together. Donc, les prochains textes que je vais vous lire sont tirés de En terrain miné. Actually, the book launch was last Saturday. If you have the chance to go to the really nice cafe in Vanier, it's called Anina's Cafe near Montfort Street. A really nice place, really vintage and really cute, so I recommend it 100%. So this book was actually released last week. It's written in French, part of it in English too, because it's part of my not my story from A to Z, but it's, the emotions that I remember the memories of my past with childhood illness. So like a lot of people tell me, oh, well, the book is really big. I guess I had a lot of traumas to talk about. So actually, it made me ça me fait beaucoup de bien. So the book goes like this. Sans explosion, cette fille n'existerait pas. Aujourd'hui, devant l'enseignante de français, en plein jogging d'écriture, son ADN a explosé sur la feuille lignée d'un cahier Hilroy. Sans explosion, cette fille n'existerait pas. Sans la déflagration de ses neurones, pas de crise. Pas de rare, mystérieuse grand trou noir dans sa carapace crânienne. Pas de secousse qui bouleverse régulièrement ses rêves. Pas de sensibilité profonde, pas de poésie. Pas de traces dans la mémoire aiguisée des centres. Sa mère lui dit qu'elle est une étincelle, mais c'est toute une galaxie qu'elle a dans la tête. La voie lactée lui coule sur le cerveau. La fiction se dessine sur une autre feuille lignée. Les couleurs débordent sur la marge, dépassent la réalité. Elle remplit une page de serrature, l'arrache aussitôt. Inscrire une fille pharmacorésistante à des sessions de speed dating avec médecins de toutes sortes. Spécialiste du système nerveux émotif, remueur de couteaux dans la plaie, forgeron d'âmes fêlées, mécanicien de corps rouillés, bourreur de crâne de pronostic, défibrillateur de crise de panique, lubrificateur de petits et de grands mots, infirmière observatrice du quotidien, grand-mère généraliste, devin prêtre mauvais et bon seigneur, sœur sorcière et marmonneuse de prière, comme autant de diseuses de bonnes et de mauvaises aventures, passeur d'énergie et de mots, passeuse de poésie et de flambeaux. L'avion décolle dans sa tête, flotte au-dessus d'un océan agité. Ces turbulences lui font peur. Elle tente de boucler sa ceinture de sérénité. Le cœur compte toutes ses cavités de subtilité et de nuances. Son squelette fibreux éclate. Les artères tombent en ruine. Souvent, le cœur cause ses propres explosions. Le cerveau lance plusieurs fois ce qui semble être l'ultime avertissement. Abort the mission. La mémoire appuie sur record. La mémoire appuie sur play. La mémoire appuie sur rewind. La mémoire appuie sur play. La mémoire appuie sur fast forward. La mémoire appuie sur play. Le ruban sort de la cassette, prend le contrôle du magnéto. Les oui-dire font partie d'une mauvaise œuvre de fiction. Un message lapidaire sorti tout droit d'un drôle de jeu de téléphone. Elle retouche une toile de ses mains éponges. Le noir et le blanc se mélangent, la peinture cloque, sa tête craquelle. La fiction maquille la réalité. Des cheveux éclatent sur sa tête. Elle caresse son cuir chevelu de sa main, écarte une mèche rebelle. Sa peau frémit à faire secouer ses racines. Ses pores rêvaient de revenir au printemps. Elle tourne et retourne sur elle-même, recalcule la circonférence de sa tête, celle de ses seins, redresse ses courbes, se détourne du miroir de la cabine d'essayage. Ses cicatrices lui vont comme un gant. Merci. Thank you.
All right. David O'Meara. When it was announced a few weeks ago that David O'Meara was the new English Poet Laureate, it was as close to sports as poetry in the city of Ottawa gets. It was like the final goal in Ted Lasso, or if you don't have Apple TV, The Mighty Ducks. You could hear the mental cheer reverb across the city. a conclusion that felt both inevitable and triumphal. David, through his transformational work at VerseFest, his exacting and marvelous curation of the Plan 99 reading series, his never-ending willingness to mentor and advise, and a life serving poetry, and a work serving at the Manx, where he inspires interest in people of poetry who have never shown the slightest interest in the art form before. It's true. You can ask my in-laws. That's barely a joke. But if there's one thing you can say about Dave O'Meara, it's that he is the author of 5 collections of poetry, most recently Masses on Radar. His play, Disaster, was nominated for 4 Rideau Awards. He is a winner of the Ottawa Book Award and the Archibald Lampman Prize. He is the director of the Plan 99 reading series and was the founding artistic director of VerseFest, and was a jurist for the 2012 Griffin International Poetry Prize. In 2016, he was awarded the Ottawa Arts Council Mid-Career Artist Award. His debut novel, Chandelier, was released last month and is very popular, very good, and makes a wonderful gift. Get ready for a treat. It's David O'Meara, the English Poet Laureate.
Well, thank you, David. Hope this reading doesn't suck, or all your words are for naught. Thank you all. I'm very excited to be our new Poet Laureate, Anglophone. Thanks very much to Verse Ottawa and Rob McLennan, who has done a great job in bringing this. Always over there. Oh, yeah. And Francis Boyle. I'm not sure who else is behind everything, but thanks to Rob. Just you. Thank you, Rob, despite all the terrible things you've done to me. Also, the Ottawa International Writers Festival, always been a big support of myself and the writing community in town, so thank you so much. And to everyone, the community here is great, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you and Veronique, my counterpart. I'm just going to read a few poems. I didn't know what to do, so I'm going to read a couple of new ones and a couple of recent ones. This is newish. Dorothy and I moved a couple times in the last couple of years, so we had to contend with a lot of our stuff. And anyone who has to contend with a lot of your stuff has to start reorganizing and prioritizing, and also dealing with those wonderful storage businesses throughout town. So this is called self-storage. No rickety, padlocked lean-to, warped with cracked siding off a side lane, prone to theft and water damage. This place is state-of-the-art, with loading bays, climate control, drainage. The pass card will buzz you inside. The halls have street names. In stackable boxes, we arrange our banged-up assets, dismantle frames, stow old coats in army-issue duffel, ditching the painfully extraneous, not the first or last to exhaust a roll of bubble wrap and duct tape over a knick-knack's awkward shape. Last night, we passed the cave of someone else's unit, clutter ejected from its depths, owners peering like rodents from a cored-out warren of mattress, chairs, and ironing board, exposing with rude torch from a smartphone their quest for one misplaced, unlabeled object. My mind raced to Doré's etching of Paradiso, Canto 34, his enraptured version of souls caught in a esophageal spiral toward the elusive goal of salvation, eternal love, the light of God's presence, or in this case, a cast iron pan and set of golf clubs. I too have loafed around the scale of laudable goals, and lo, was found wanting, if that's what it means to want something. It's not. And no relief when you wake in sheets to twist there, rummaging through the mind's warehouse of victories and costs, haunted by the difference in definition between flotsam and jetsam, being what was taken from you versus what you chose to toss. But in both cases, carried from the wreck and washed up as worthless later. That's the thing with all our stuff. Possessions, junk, mementos, whatnot. They're ultimate necessary loss. For now, I have them, need them. Continue to dress, saute, lounge, ponder, in, with, on, and over them. Like experience, they only gain meaning while getting scuffed. To put it purely materialistically, they're my essence, gathered up in fragments behind a roll-up door of galvanized steel, evidence for whatever scenes I feel I've lived in my 24/7 parade of first world problems. It's why sometimes I like to show up at night when no one's about and roam the center's corridors in the motion-triggered light. Like an astronaut woken halfway through the interstellar migration, and having nothing else to do, will check supplies, shift a few things about, before I return the hand truck to its station. And I'll read a few poems from my most recent collection, Masses on Radar. I have often, only half-jokingly, said that all poems are really about not wanting to get out of bed. But really what they're about is time. This is called Days. We keep forgetting something back there, don't we? We pop out the door, turn corners, the shop's unchanged. But data nags like a black box has signaled from the wreckage, or a high voice is calling down a long street across medians of statued piazzas, river bends, concert halls, vertigo in the nosebleeds, barista beardos at homogeneous counters, x-rayed luggage, passport please, carousel fatigue, caffeinated reveries in taxis, the balcony's very non-sea view, our frugal mattress picnics watching own goals in stoppage time, the must-sees we didn't, phone calls, emails, our returns fine-toothing of apartment vacancies with thoughts that nothing would change, as if we'd rush back through traffic across 3 continents, a decade, to find my father still alive, the cat at its bowl, and the iron left on. Here's one that is placed pre-millennium. I know a few of you were there. Decade. LA after Rodney King, the 90s, same as every other decade. Too early for progress, too late for change. We worked the breakfast shift groggy, a flat top of egg and meat sizzled while regulars shuffled fat newspapers. Hungry for experience, property was laughable. Obsessing over research and Acker books on balconies with acid-wash skylines, push-button phones, yoga still weird, friends monogamish. We walked everywhere. It was like a sickness, our pre-taxi lives. Nights past 4, 5, whenever. I fell in love, inarticulate with awkwardness and eros. Wedged between Tiananmen Square and Columbine, what did anyone hope for? The ashes answer. One of the other things that poems are about, besides not wanting to get out of bed and time, is praise. One of the outlets of praise is elegy. I don't think I've read this to an audience before. This is for the Irish poet Matthew Sweeney, who Ottawa audiences know. Wonderful poet who visited our city a few times. I wrote it when he passed away in 2018. The title is the headline in a Berlin newspaper. He had a big following in Germany, and I thought he would be tickled that his death was announced in German in the German newspaper. So the poem is called forgive my German, Der Irish Dichter Matthew Sweeney ist tot. Was that you I heard howling near Lilac Hedge on Sunday morning? You claimed you'd been a dog in a past life and insisted public readings were all the better if one were present. Also, good food, Bordeaux, some creaky jazz, and a rucksack of fibs. Is a lie still called a cod in Ireland? You said one day you'd give me a proper tour of Donegal, where we pull up to a bar with all its windows facing the sea. At least I knew what enormous fun it was to sit and laugh at your stories about the lighthouse and dancing bear. Did the bear dream the dog, or did the dog dream the bear? The sea dreamt you. A couple other new ones, and then one more. This is called Floods. The creeks we often crossed bordered farmers' fields, snaked under fallen branches, twinkling with Jesus bugs. In the sear of summer drought, the flow would shrink to slurry, retreat deeper in cicada-stitched heat, echoing with vacancy, though if I searched, a dry trickle might silver through papery cattails where frog spawn jellied in sludge. Once, in a torrential April, I was told to stay away. The sodden banks had rose and broke, the road wrenched off its course, washing gravel and culvert pipes downstream, to lie exposed like sectioned scaffolds. Buzzing with peril, my reckless steps trimmed closer to blades of drowning reeds. Closer, closer. The canvas of my sneakers darkening past the ankles. When, years later, Dorothy and I climbed to the Tunisian hill town of Midez, washed out, abandoned for decades from catastrophic rains, we wandered among the ruins of ancient adobe. Through roofless rooms, we arrived at a household's shattered wall and stopped just short of gaps that dropped 1,000 meters to the canyon's bottom. Sometimes now, near daybreak, awake from seeing edges I know have etched me near an emptiness. Half awake, I go downstairs and sit, bereft, quickened by a nameless distraction in the freefall of morning light, erased from oneself and handed to another. How to introduce this? Whenever I have them, I think a lot about earliest memories, those, and there always seem to be just sort of very much an impression or an image that sort of come out of nowhere, and there's usually nothing, tragic or interesting about it. It might just be by a door frame, but this image will appear. And I was reading, it's a weird segue, I was reading Anna Karenina for the first time in about 25, 30 years, and last summer. And I forgot that it's in 6 sections, and I forgot that Anna meets her fate at the end of the 5th section. There's a whole other section that ends the book that follows a couple of the other protagonists, Levin and Kitty, with their newborn child. And there's a scene in it where a storm is brewing, and Levin rushes out to find his wife and child who have gone off to this forest called Kolak. And it reminded me of these sort of, I started thinking about the child and, all these events had happened through this massive classic book, and he sort of comes near the end of it, and he's lying in this carriage, and I sort of wrote this from his perspective, maybe later on recounting it to someone. Plus, I wanted to have a poem called Mitya at Kolak. And the epigraph is from the last section, which is Levin's thoughts. Simply, what am I, and where am I, and why am I here? Mitya at Kolak. I was made of fog and grass. In the mowed field, an old man shaved a hoop. Someone crunched a cucumber. Hives lined a wattle fence, lashed to stakes with bast. In a bowl of amber honey, a helpless bee squirmed in the heavy goo, but Sergei Ivanovich, plucking it out with a blunt knife onto an aspen leaf, saved its life. I squirmed in the carriage near a green umbrella. I held time behind my eyelid with only a mote for scale. While you talked of politics, newspapers, and war, the wind was explaining my skin to me. While you wrestled with the question of God, clouds uncoiled like dark, wet cables, and the oak was split by lightning. And I was made of nettles and rain. And I can't resist closing with this. This is from my second last book, A Pretty Sight. The few times I've read it in the past, I've encouraged everyone to imagine we're in kind of a pod, and everyone is wearing sort of, those sort of science fiction uniforms like Star Trek or Logan's Run, different colors and all that stuff. I think this is it should be more explored, the sci-fi poetry world. So this is called Occasional. As Poet Laureate of the Moon, I'd like to welcome you to the opening of the Armstrong Center for the Performing Arts. I was asked to prepare a special verse to mark this important occasion, and I'd be the first to confess the assignment stumped me. Glancing around my workspace's dials and gauges and the moonscape through triple hermetic plexiglass, I struggled to settle on the proper content to hard text into the glow of my thought screen. In the progress of art and literature, the moon's been as constant a theme as rivers or the glare of the sun. Though even after several bowls of potent plum wine, a Tang poet would never have guessed, addressing this satellite across the darkness, that someone would ever write back. The center itself, I know, isn't much. A duct-lined node bolted to the laboratory, powered by sectional solar panels mounted on trusses, parked not far from the first Apollo landing. We live with bare minimum, cramped, nutrient-deprived, atrophying like versions of our perishables in vacuum pack. The lacks made my sleep more vivid. Last night I dreamt I was in a pool where cattle hydrated, then fell tenderly apart in perfect lops of meat. I see a few of you nodding there in the back. So what good will one room do us? Maybe none. Maybe this streamlined aluminum will become our Lascaux, discovered by aliens ages hence, pressing them to wonder what our rituals meant, what they said of our hopes and fears. Somewhere in this lunar grind, in the cratered gap between survival and any outside meaning, must be the clue to our humanity. The way Camus once argued the trouble for Sisyphus wasn't the endless failure to prop a rock atop some hill, but the thoughts he had on the way back down. Which brings me to the astronauts of Apollo 11. After snapping the horizon through the lens of a single Hasselblad, knowing every boot tread they left was eternal, they'd squeezed through the hatch of their landing module, shut and resealed it for return to Earth, then discovered, due to cramped space and the bulk of their spacesuits, they'd crushed the switch for the ascent engine. the rockets failed to activate. So Buzz Aldrin used part of a pen to trigger the damaged breaker, toggling until it fired the sequence for launch. This was the quiet work of his engineer's mind. He kept the pen for the rest of his years, which is another kind of thinking, akin to that slight pivoting, as Camus would call it, when we glance backward over our lives. What we keep in the pause between facts might be the beginning of art, which is where we are in this room tonight. I'll have to stop there. The teleprompter is flashing for wrap-up. Following tonight's program, I'm happy to announce an extra ration of natural form and H2O will be served by the airlock. I think you're in for quite a show. So hold on to your flight diapers as we cue the dancers who've timed their performance to the backdrop of Earthrise. There it is now in the tinted north viewpoint. Look at that, folks. To think they still find bones of dinosaurs there. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. And thank you to everyone who made it out tonight. Let's give her another round of applause for Veronique. And for Dave. And for both of them. And thank you once again to the City of Ottawa for your support. Thank you to hilarious. Thank you to the board of Verse Ottawa, which is Alison Armstrong, Rob McLennan, Gisad Locke, Ben Lattiser, Francis Boyle, and Stephen Brockwell. And thank you to the Writers' Festival for their support of this event. It really is just an honor to work at the Writers' Festival. I'm so happy to do it. And it's an honor to be a part of VerseFest. We're going to take a brief, let's say 12-minute break, get a drink, and we'll be back with Christine McNair and Amanda Earle.